Okay, I'd like to call the House Ag and Consumer Affairs Committee to order this morning. Thank everyone for being here on this committee day. I know everyone's got a lot of committees, a lot of things going on. I see our 4-H is coming into the Capitol. It's 4-H Day. I hope you'll speak to those with the green jackets on and throughout. Great organization in our schools and across our state. Our group of area conservationists are here in the building today. I hope you'll speak to them. Important job they do. So a lot going on today. But thank all of y'all for being here. I'd like to call on my colleague Danny Mathis to lead us in a word of prayer.
Let's pray. Thank you, Chairman. Father, we thank you today. We thank you that we're here today. With the folks that are here, we ask you to watch over their families and watch over them. We just thank you for the people here in this state that make agriculture go and consumer affairs. We just thank you for that. Help us make good decisions to keep this state running good. For what's in your name we pray, Jesus. Amen.
Thank you. To get started this morning, I think y'all would pick up HB 495's bill that I'm carrying, and I'll just sit right here, and I'm going to turn it over to Vice Chairman Joe Campbell, if he could do this, and I'll just do it from right here. Show Unit 21.
Chairman,
HB 495.
okay, so this is HB 495, LC 44 3087S. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, members of the committee. Presented this bill last time, and we moved it, but realized after we moved it, it needed some changes. I got with lead counsel and others in colleagues, and we made some slight changes to this bill. It really does the exact same thing. It moves the Center for Rural Prosperity from under USG, then at ABAC, over to the Department of Ag, and made some changes in some wording, but really that is really all it does. It's a great resource for our state, working with small communities and others throughout rural Georgia that really need the expertise, help in areas that this center is really good at. It's got a great track record, and we're just trying to find a way to move this forward. Continued funding. I hope you will continue to support funding for this facility and the work they do. And that is the bill, and I'll be happy to take some questions. Number 7.
Okay, and number 7, Chairman Meeks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Dickey, thank you for bringing the bill. As you've mentioned, the Center for Rural Prosperity has done some great work around our state, and it's one of those ideas that came out of I do believe, the Rural Development Council. And as they have moved around the state, a lot of this has been small projects, small impacts within communities. But whether it's a small impact or a large impact, Mr. Chairman, it's still an impact in rural Georgia. And even the smallest impacts in small communities is a big impact, right, Mr. Chairman? So thank you for bringing this and the effect that it will have, and hopefully moving forward do some additional great things. And Mr. Chairman, at the appropriate time, I'd like to make a motion.
Well, thank you for those comments. I see Catherine Russell from the Department of Ag. I don't think she's got much to say, but thank you for the department for agreeing to house the Rural Prosperity just under y'all's auspices. Would you like to make a comment?
Just wanted to say hi. I'm Catherine Russell, the Director of Policy at the Department of Agriculture, and Catherine Russell, the Director of Policy at the Department of Agriculture. Just wanted to say that we're supportive of the bill, and we look forward to supporting the agriculture community moving forward with this new task.
Are there any other speakers to speak on this? Any questions on the committee? Anybody have any questions? Well, I think that time has come. We have a motion to do. Got a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Bill passed.
Thank you, members of the committee. I appreciate that. I think it will be positive going forward. Next on our agenda is Representative David Jenkins here. There he is. Got a little bill we heard last time, 413, on some mobile sawmills.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, appreciate y'all's time this morning. We've already discussed this once, so I will be brief. Today I'm here. There we go. Today I'm here to present House Bill 413. This bill seeks to amend Chapter 1, Title 2 of the Official Code of Georgia relating to general provisions regarding agriculture. The code section we are amending basically prevents counties, municipalities, consolidated governments, other political subdivisions of the state from adopting or enforcing any rule, regulation, resolution regulating crop management or animal husbandry practices. So in the past, the legislature has had to further define this for other matters, and this is just another opportunity to do that, to further define that these portable sawmills operated on agricultural land is an agricultural practice. Another thing to note is on lines 35 and 36, it states subsections A and A.1 of this code section shall not prohibit or impair the power of any local government to adopt or enforce any zoning ordinance or make any zoning decision. So this is not zoning. This has nothing to do with where we farm in our communities. That's completely up to the local government. It doesn't affect zoning in any way, but it does say that this is an agricultural practice, so where they have decided we farm, then this is farming. So what brought us here is basically this is a bill to help small farmers. It's primarily something, I think, that an issue that occurs in more of your urban areas. I heard in a committee the other day that the median size of a farm in the state of Georgia is about 250 acres. So, you know, I don't know about the agricultural dollar output or the tonnage, but that's certainly where we find most of our farmers and our farm families. And one thing these small operations all have in common is it does take multiple streams of revenue to keep these small farms viable, and that's what this bill seeks to do, is protect one of those streams of revenue. You see event centers, chicken houses. We actually studied rivers and streams and found that in North Georgia, a lot of our small farmers are monetizing those streams running through their properties as an income, way to produce income to keep their operation viable. The other point to bring up here is that this is pretty much a waste product. The wood that'll wind up in one of these mills is not going to enter the supply stream to make it to Home Depot. In order for timber to be harvested by a forester with the equipment to get it into the supply chain, that needs to be at least 20 acres, and if that, it has to be very well managed, usually much larger than that. So the wood that winds up in these mills is storm damage, something that's been cleared for construction, stuff like that. So basically, if it did not go here to create a product that can earn someone some income and create value, this would go into a commercial landfill, be pushed up and burned, all these things that we really don't want in our community. The final thing I'll say is that these farms are important to our communities. These farmers are farmers across the state, are the custodians of our green space. They're important to us to give us the mental well-being to go about our day and cleaner air to breathe. But we have to recognize that for these beautiful vistas to exist, they have to be economically viable. So this bill helps to support that and keep small farmers, allow them to have another income stream, keep these small productions economically viable, and protect farming in the state of Georgia. Pending your questions.
Thank you. I'd open up for any questions from the committee. Have one. Chairman makes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and it may be a question for Ledge Council. On lines 31 through 34, all waste by producing sawing logs shall be considered agriculture products, which includes bark, sawdust, etc. Would waste from commercial mills also be considered agriculture products as well?
I know what happens to the ones in my area. They use it for fuel for a power plant. A lot of it is composted, but I would say it would be, but I can't speak to that. The scale definitely creates a different thing. I mean, there's definitely developed supply chains for everything coming into and out of the large operations. So with these farmers, it is typically composted or such as that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Representative Cannon.
In my county, there's a couple of these folks that are using this for pallets, to build pallets to transport goods on. Would this law apply to them?
It would, yeah. There's a lot of small producers that do that. That's probably the biggest thing they do, although there are cabinetry, pallets. Pallets is the big industry that small producers do.
Gotcha.
Okay, I see no more questions. I'd like to, proper time, someone can make a motion.
Move due pass.
I got a motion, do pass, second. Any other discussion or questions on this bill? LC 443031, House Bill 413. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Bill passes. Thank you. On the rules. Next, I'd like to ask Chairman Camp, but while she's coming up there, I'd like to recognize a group I see just walked in. The Georgia Association of Conservation Districts just walked in, and can y'all raise your hand? I see one really important guy that's sitting on the front row that's got a little connection to one of our members here, Mr. Ford. Chairman of the group this year. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for doing that. Your family is very engaged in agriculture and all things here. And Katie Sponberger, is she here? Would you like to say a few words? Tell our group a little bit. Come to the podium, Mike. And just tell our group a little bit about your organization, what they do in our state. If you could hold on, Chairman Camp.
Of course, thank you.
Good morning. I'm Katie Sponberger. I'm the Executive Director of the Georgia Association of Conservation Districts, and we are a nonprofit association. We represent the state's 40 soil and water conservation districts, and we have several of our district supervisors here today that represent districts from all across the state of Georgia. They work to conserve their natural resources locally, and we've partnered for the second year with Mr. Will Bentley and Jake Tinch of the Georgia Agribusiness Council to help us with some advocacy efforts. So we would love to get a master farmer program started here in the state of Georgia. We're working with our state partners to hopefully implement that. And then, of course, we have our conservation district feral hog control program that we're working to enhance as well. And we'd love to speak with any of you all more if you have questions. But thank y'all for having us, and glad to be here today.
Well, thank y'all for being here. Thank you for what you do, and I hope members of the committee support them. I know we do throughout Georgia, urban and rural areas. Very important. And thank you, Jake, for your involvement with that as well. Okay, we got a dog and cat bill.
We do, and rabbits.
Chairman Camp.
And rabbits.
Back.
Don't leave the rabbits out. All right, good morning. I bring you House Bill 331, which is LC 443108A. S. And slight change to this bill. I think last time I had the honor to present this before the committee. After line 46, there were several lines that basically said that if it occurred in one day, then it would only be the first offense fine. In conversation with the Department of Agriculture, they supported removing that. So if someone comes in and they sell 6 dogs, for example, they wouldn't just have a $100 fine. They would actually have the first, second, third, and additional offenses. Because if you're selling dogs for several $1,000s each, a $100 fine is really not anything that's going to make anyone change their behavior. So I do appreciate the input from the Department of Agriculture on that. But again, this bill, if you're giving away animals, this bill does not address it. If you're selling animals at your home, at your business, at a veterinarian's office, police department, sheriff's department, at an FFA 4-H event, or a National Breeding Club Association event, this does not impact anyone in any way that are doing those things. We are going after the individuals who are selling animals in parking lots, alongside the road, without licensure at pop-up flea markets. These dogs do not have history. From a consumer standpoint, there's no recourse if the dog is sick, if the dog is misrepresented. You know, I think I said last time you get a Labradoodle, but you get a lot of other things, kind of the same situation. There's no consumer recourse if you buy an animal from someone that you don't know in a place that there's no traceability. So this bill is a twofold bill. It's protecting the consumer, and it's also protecting, in my humble opinion, the animals who unfortunately get dumped in animal shelters when people are unhappy with them because it's not what they thought they were. And I'm open for any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Representative Hagan. Chairman. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chair Camp, I want to thank you for this bill. I know a lot of us in rural communities are aware that we have a real problem with irresponsible animal ownership. And it's not just a problem for the animal and the people that are directly related, but it's a problem for our animal control shelters that are overrun. It's a problem for those of us who take compassion on these animals when they're dumped on the side of the road because nobody wants them. And I see this bill as a good start on us handling that situation because it discourages irresponsible breeding practices, irresponsible handling of these animals, while it does not impact our licensed breeders in any way, correct?
That is correct.
Right. So thank you for this. I think that this is going to help a lot of our communities get a handle on that. And also, just I hear complaints all the time of the lineup on a Saturday morning in the Walmart parking lot of people trying to make a few bucks off of animals that when they will not control the breeding of their own animals. So I think this solves a lot of problems, and I thank you for your work on it.
Thank you, Chairman Hagan. And another thing that I didn't really mention before, a lot of these organizations and people who are coming in and selling these animals, they're doing so for nefarious purposes. They're getting money, below the radar of a lot of things. And there's organized crime even involved in some of these rings that are selling animals in our state. So thank you very much.
I'd like to reiterate a little bit of what she just said, and you as well. I've learned a lot since you brought this bill about this situation, and thank you how you've crafted it, and I think it's well done, and I hope our Department of Ag, and I know they will, be aggressive, try to root out these people that don't have license, and which is what you're trying to go after, these people trying to get around our present laws in this state. So thank you for your work on this bill. So
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
If I see no more questions, proper time, I think I'd like to entertain a motion to do pass if it's the will of this committee. Have a motion, have a second. Any other discussion or questions from the author? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Got one. So motion passes, do pass on the rules. Chairman Camp, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. House Bill 529, is that next on our agenda? Represented Barrett. I know, I saw you. There you are. Welcome to the Ag and Consumer Affairs. Is this your first visit?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I brought your Bible.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. You can't have too many of these around here. We have a handout, I think, going around.
A handout and a substitute.
And a substitute. All right, we got a substitute. Late minute. So disregard LC 550514. Butler, my great AA here, Butler Matthews from UGA is helping this here.
This is H.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, there it is.
This is our House Budget and Research is Sam.
Sam, thank you, Sam. We got all kind of good help. Let's finish getting it passed out. This is first hearing on HB 529. So has everybody in the committee got a copy of LC 550550S? That's what we're working off of, Representative Barrett. I think it is. Okay?
Yes, sir, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, LC 550550S.
Okay, great. Thank you. Mike's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all for letting me join y'all this morning. House Bill 529 is intended to bring some much-needed relief to consumers. I've given you a couple of examples that were passed out this morning, and just as an example, hopefully we'll throw those in the trash afterwards. The first one is a newspaper subscription. This is my personal newspaper subscription. The original charge on that, you'll notice on the bottom right, is $52. A year later, it automatically renewed for $250. It will renew this November automatically at $467.88. Has anybody ever had a subscription that you just sort of went, you gave them your credit card, you signed up, and then you had your, and you're set up for automatic renewal? It doesn't have a termination point. It just, or it may be a 1-year subscription or something like that, and then at the end of that period, it just automatically renews. They probably send you a little email or something like that. And if you're like me, you probably, there's a good chance you might miss that email. You get busy and you've got 300 emails coming in every week, and sometimes those things sort of elude you, and next thing you know, you probably catch it 3 months later or 5 months later on your bank statement or your credit card statement. You're like, wow, what's that $300 charge on there? This is a chronic problem. I think if we did a show of hands, you'd probably see more than 50% of the people in the room have probably experienced this before, and it's probably, it could be built into the business model. There's a second example there that I gave y'all, also a personal. It's a $50 annual renewal fee. This was an interesting one for me because I actually went in to cancel this after the fact because I actually have this service directly through the company, and it gives you a phone number to call or an email or a website you can click on. If you click on the website, it takes you to nowhere. Gives you no prompts. It's not intuitive at all. And the website says, if you're still having trouble, you can call this number. It's also the number they give you right there. You call the number directs you back to the website, and it's just an endless loop of, I can't get out of this subscription. And so this bill is designed to essentially sort of bring a little relief. And I'm glad that we're starting the conversation here because I know how important it is because I know it affects probably every single person in this room or has affected every person in this room. And I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. Chairman Gaines had passed a bill a couple of years ago that was intended to sort of make this process a little more user-friendly, but I think it can use potentially some additional refining. This bill will give consumers the ability to have a contract terminate after an initial period rather than having it automatically renew. So essentially, if a consumer wants something to renew automatically, you can keep doing that. But conversely, if you have a 1-year initial term, it gives you the option to say, at the end of a year, I wanted to terminate. We want to shift the onus back off of the consumer and back to the seller. So in other words, rather than me having to go, if I get a subscription to a newspaper or whatever, and having to go put a tickler system or put a note on my calendar a year from now that I've got this subscription coming up and I've probably got 20 of these things, rather than me having to put it on my calendar and come back in a year and say, oh, I need to renegotiate this. I've got a certain radio service that I get in my car that I love it. Costs me about $6 or $8 a month. Every single year I have to go renew that one, and I get to negotiate to get from $35 back to $6 or $8 every single year. This company, to their credit, actually allows me to terminate at the end of a year, and then we renegotiate the deal. What that does is it puts the onus off of me. Oh, I've got to remember that, otherwise my rates are going to go up. And it puts the onus back onto them to, hey, we want to keep you as a customer. We've got to make sure that you're satisfied with the pricing and the term of the renewal contract. And so all this bill tries to do is says, I can have my contract terminate at the end of the initial term. You have to give me the option. If I want to have it automatically renew the way that most companies like to have it, we can keep doing that. Especially for those short-term contracts, the streaming service or whatever, that every month it looks like this. What I'm trying to get to is the right solution for the longer-term things where you might see a dramatic increase in price. If I have a 1-year contract, 1 year means 1 year. If I want to renew at the end of a year, I'll renew it at the end of a year. I don't want to have to create a tickler system and go back and find a way to opt out and then have to fight the company to find a way to opt out, because it's not consistent when you do it. When you go in, every company has a different approach to how you opt out. Some of them are really simple. Some of them are almost impossible. Now picture our aging population. We're living to be 90 and 95 and 100 years old routinely now. I'm picturing this version of me and how difficult this can be now. And then I'm trying to imagine the 82-year-old version of me having to deal with this. And I think about that, and I think about my mother or my aunt or whatever, and I think this should be easy. It should be intuitive. When I subscribe to something, I'm looking forward to that great service, and I'm also looking forward to it ending and knowing that I don't have to keep up with 23 different subscriptions. Anyway, that's the essence of the bill, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. We've got a few questions here. Representative Osteen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am so grateful for this bill. I feel like everybody in here has probably been caught by these deceptive sales tactics. I call them bait and switch. And essentially what we're doing when we sign up for these subscriptions, unbeknownst to us, is that at the end of that initial service period contract, I have given them access to my debit card or my credit card for them to charge me whatever they want to. And then it's up to me to go back and try to get back on that email or that website or that phone number and try to get my money back. I am so thankful for this bill. This is going to revolutionize how we do business. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Representative.
All right, Representative Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I have a little ambiguity about the term termination, automatic termination. Because if it automatically terminates at the end of the contract, then that person that wants to possibly continue electively may not have the same benefits as they had initially. I can see if you terminate your contract and then you decide you want to resubscribe, the terms may change. It may be more money. And I don't understand how, like the example in the first page that you gave us, the fee jumps so high without your knowing it. I mean, can you tell me, how does that happen? I mean, if you have a contract for a certain amount of money per month to come out of off your card, and every year when it does that, and it's just changing the amount that they're taking automatically without your approving that, I'm thinking that the bill would want to address that issue.
That's a great point. And again, the way the bill is written currently, you do have the ability to not have it terminate after the end of an initial term. You can have it automatically renewed. You can continue doing business exactly the way you're doing business. This just adds that additional layer of protection or flexibility for the consumer, so that they can say, no, I'd rather have it terminate, and then I'll look at it then. And I'll have the ability to potentially negotiate the term or the pricing or whatever. But certainly, if you like the way you're doing things now, you can keep doing it the way you're doing it.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, and that's where my concern is. If I elect to do automatic renewal, I want these safeguards for that.
Okay.
That they cannot just arbitrarily increase the price to whatever they want it to be at the time of that renewal.
Presently, though, companies do have the ability to do that. And what they essentially do is they'll send you an email, rightfully so. And a lot of these procedures were prescribed in that great legislation that Chairman Gaines had passed a couple of years ago. And I remember we all stood up and did a standing ovation when it was passed. So this is an attempt this conversation has to be had. And Consumer Affairs is the place to be doing it, because it absolutely affects virtually every family in the state and probably the country. So finding the right answer there, and I met with 5 different individuals out in the hall just a minute ago that had a lot to say about this bill. So I know we're on the right track. It's creating the conversation that needs to be had. And so I'm tickled to death about that. But absolutely, right now, they do have the ability to come in and change the term and the pricing. And what they'll do is they'll send me an email. And that's a reminder that, okay, it's incumbent on me to go opt out. And sometimes it's easy to opt out, and sometimes it's less easy to opt out. But it's incumbent on me to see the email, too. And as busy as we all are scurrying around trying to pay the light bill and inundated with a sea of emails all day, every day, there's a really good chance I'll miss that email, and it just automatically happens. The next thing you know, your $10 a month issue is now $50 a month.
So does this bill address the scavenger hunt for trying to find the correct page to opt out or cancel subscription? Does the bill address that? Because the problem seems that if you want to cancel or either renew or change, then we're having a problem getting that assistance, which is part of your presentation.
Yeah.
So does the bill address that?
All right, Representative, would you like a follow-up question? Let's move on, and we'll come back if you got a follow-up question.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman Kemp.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Representative Barrett, for bringing this. I have been attempting to, is it not true I have been attempting to cancel a food delivery service for about 3 months? And they claim that they don't have my account they can find. They can't find it by my credit card. They can't find it by anything, but yet they charge my credit card $9.99 a month. All right, so that being said, I apparently authorized them at some point in time to do so. And so the credit card company will not simply terminate because I apparently agreed to let them have access to my credit card. It is a never-winning circle when you're trying to cancel a subscription, to the point that if it automatically terminated at some point, I would just simply wait it out. But it hasn't. So I appreciate you bringing this bill, because the reality is we don't read, the general population, including myself, do not read the long thing at the end and you hit agree. So unfortunately, as consumers, we live in a very fast-paced world. It's very small print. I'm over 50, honestly. And I'm not going to read the little bitty writing when I would like blank eats to deliver my food on a Friday night. So it puts me in a situation where I'm paying $10 a month for something I don't even know how to access, and I don't know how to cancel. And I have a master's degree. I'm ashamed to say I cannot figure out how to cancel something. So I appreciate you bringing this bill. If it were to terminate and I were to get a notification of termination, again, that would be beneficial to me because I could decide to continue at that point. So that's where it would be important to me. I do understand that when you agree to do automatic renewals, there is the assumption, which I think I got from page 1 of the Wall Street Journal digital that you gave to us, you have an anticipation that it would be a more consistent charge. That increased 100%. I mean, that's just, it's crazy, tenfold. It goes from $52 to $467. But at some point in time, you probably clicked accept, not realizing they had the ability to escalate. So I appreciate you bringing this bill. I guess my question would be, when would this go into effect if we were to pass it by law?
That's a question I'll have to get back to you on after speaking with Ledge Council. That's a question I asked myself out in the hall 15 minutes ago.
Right, it's not a trick question. I just found it, I'm sorry, July 1st. So thank you.
The main thing about this bill is this is a worthwhile conversation that needs to be had, and it's not antagonistic at all for the providers of these fantastic services we get. I mean, I love these guys. I've been reading that particular paper every day for a long time, and I look forward to continuing to do so. I really look at it as a collaborative effort with them and I think the goodwill that will be garnered with consumers and those great companies will be even greater. And it's really just finding the right equilibrium that's good for consumers and is also good for companies. It's certainly not to create obstacles to business. We love these companies and what they provide. We just want to find the right balance that helps protect consumers too, just so that they are aware of what they're getting. We want it to be as easy to leave as it is. We don't want to get it and forget it. We want it to be as easy to leave as it is to come in. And what's easier than saying, I'm buying this and I'm buying it for this long, and at the end of that, it's over, and then it's incumbent on me to go, if I want to get it again, they can resell me, or I can choose to go pursue it when my radio won't turn on. I think, I need to go look at that.
All right. Thank you. You've got multiple other questions. Chairman Corbett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for bringing this bill. Like my colleague here sitting next to me, I think it's a wonderful bill. But my only question is will this help with my mother-in-law's daughter? Every month I have charges I did not okay on my bill.
I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole, sir. Wow.
All right. Follow that one up. Representative Cox.
I have the same problem with my mother-in-law's daughter as well. It's an annual review of subscriptions. I'm kidding. Well, not really, but couple questions. I know when we use our phones and all of a sudden it's time to update the phone, we can hold off and wait, or we click a button. I absolutely believe, from a business perspective, and all of us that have been involved in business, it's imperative that loyalty to the customer is the focal point. And I find these things here to be disgusting. I can't stand when people take advantage of your hard-working money, or anybody else's in this room, or anybody else in this state. There's a better way, and it's called transparency. And to me, so my question would be, is there a way that we can have the place to opt in, and we click the button to opt in, like I want to update my phone, and if you don't want to opt in, or you miss the date, it expires. You can go back and renew it. You can renegotiate it. Those different thoughts. But I'm a firm believer that businesses should not be spending the consumer's dollar without the consumer's approval and transparency. That at my age, I'm having a hard time reading the fine print on this bill without glasses sometimes, right? So we've got to take care of those that may have a harder time reading this stuff. So that's one. Number two, I don't see what happens if they don't adhere to this? I think sometimes if you put the burden back onto the business, myself as well as a business owner, we should have some form of, I don't know, there should be something, consequences for not doing this. Especially if you're trying for 3 months to do a $9 subscription on food and they don't renew it. Not only should you get your $9 back, her time should be compensated for as well. So those are some thoughts and some questions.
Thank you, Representative. So what I heard you say, and I think in a previous conversation too, is that, for example, your cell phone, when you update your software on your cell phone, it doesn't just happen. You have to agree to update to the update. And it's a great idea and worth consideration. Mr. Chairman, I would just love to have as much possible feedback as I can get. Getting this right as opposed to getting it fast is a real goal.
Well, I think you've got great support for this bill, and sounds like Representative Cox might have an idea for another bill, so or addition. So, but anyway, that's what this hearing's for. Great feedback. Got a couple more, and then we'll have to adjourn here pretty soon. Representative Willis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. I really like this bill. I hear the concerns of my colleague. Many of my constituents, I hear about this often, many of them seniors, some of them without smartphones. And so they'll negotiate a rate, let's say for internet or bad example, cable or whatever it may be. And they don't have, I love Rep. Cox's suggestion about an opt-in or pop-up, yes, no, and then a cancellation. My concern is for those that don't have access to devices that would provide for that. And so I would ask that if that's a consideration, that we will also think about our constituents that don't have the latest technology or can't afford the latest technology, because we represent them as well. This impacts, both of my parents are seniors. My dad's 98, and lucid, by the way, doing great, always on Facebook, but punches his iPhone all day. I end up having to call these companies who take advantage of them, which puts more of not a burden, but more tasks on a task list for people who see about their seniors as well. So I think that something else to consider, I'd like to see punishment for those who implement more barriers to cancellation. Those that have fake landing pages, so if you've ever pursued these things or it takes 3 months, they want you to go back to a Yahoo account you had 15 years ago that you don't have a password to anymore, and if you can't cancel. So I think that, one, consideration for those who don't have access to the devices that we do, and then two, what does it look like for companies who knowingly and willingly put in place barriers to exit a contract with them. But thank you, phenomenal bill.
We got one more question. I've got a question though before we go to you, Representative Jenkins. In the bill, as Attorney General is authorized to bring action, I think against this. Have you engaged with that department on what that would look like, or the feasibility that is something this committee might want to hear from, if how they go about enforcing consumer bills such as this, and how they've done it in the past, and how they envision this would be enforced.
No, Mr. Chairman, I've not had that conversation with the Attorney General's office yet, and that is.
I know they have a division that deals with consumer issues over there, and I think in my office I've got that name. Might want to engage with them. That would maybe shed some light on the enforcement of this.
That'd be great.
Okay, Representative Jenkins, last question.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you for bringing the bill. I'm a big fan. I'm excited that we're going to try to get at the problem you're trying to fix here. I do have some questions about, mainly for my own education, to understand maybe how we can address this kind of stuff in the future. A lot of this, we're getting into like national and international market spaces when we start dealing with these subscriptions and a lot of the things we buy this way. I guess it's a point of sale where you click the button, or is there any limitations to our jurisdiction over this stuff as a result of the vendors not being in Georgia? And I guess the other thing is, or follow kind of another dovetailing into that is, are other states pursuing this similar kind of measures, or are we kind of leading in this?
I think we are on the front edge of this, but there are certainly other states who are looking at these things as well. And to your original question, I think that's a great point that goes back to Chairman Dickey's earlier point about the conversation with the Attorney General's office, as far as the purview and our ability to have sway over companies that aren't necessarily domiciled in Georgia. But I think that if you do business in Georgia, that certainly gives us something to say about doing business here.
Well, thank you, Representative Barrett, for this bill. A lot of conversation. Looks like a lot of support for it. Hearing only today. Members of the committee, we have a meeting, our regular scheduled meeting for in the morning. Be on the lookout. I'm anticipating another bill that has been assigned to a committee or two that we have not had hearings on, and just trying to get the right language, subs and other to hear that. So plan on a meeting in the morning, hopefully for some other bills, and we could crossovers fast coming up. So we're trying to get in a position to make sure Rules Committee has the bills out of this committee for them to consider and move on to the floor, hopefully. So thank y'all for being here today. Thank you for all your work. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.